Welcome back, folks. I'm Yvonne Davis, author, astrologer, and life transformation coach. This is my channel where I do general astrology and political astrology. So if you're new, please subscribe to my channel, click like on this video, share with friends and family and on social media, and leave your comments. And also, if you want a private reading, you can always catch the link in the description box below. And also my financial freedom program. And if you want to become a patron at the $10 tier, then you will qualify for my free ebook. And all you have to do is email me at admin@yvonnedavis.com for more information. All right, so today's video is going to be on Trump's money laundering revelations. So let me go ahead and open up that chart and share that with you. Alrighty, so, I know it's been really tough lately. We won a battle with the impeachment. Donald Trump was impeached, and that was something we've been waiting for a long time. It did happen. And then the backlash from the Republicans, and we knew that was going to happen as well. And now Trump is really, really going off the deep end. And we all knew that was going to happen as well. So here we are on the other side of all these events. And we're wondering, when is this insanity going to end? So I wanted to show you something that I think could be really important. And that's Mars retrograde. So let me show you what this is doing. First of all, just for those of you who may be new to this, I want to explain Donald Trump's chart. His natal chart is in the center, okay? So this is the information up here for his chart. His natal chart is in the center. And this is for Mars retrograde, which turns retrograde on September 9th, which is really fascinating because of the fact that it will actually happen toward the end of the presidential election cycle. Mars will be retrograde at the time of election day. It won't go direct until mid-November. So this is really fascinating. And I am very much looking forward to finding out what the Mars retrograde will actually, what kind of effect it will actually have on the elections. So there's a lot of other things going on. So you can't just look at Mars retrograde. You have to look at all the different factors. But one of the things I noticed when I was studying Mars retrograde is that it actually forms a T-square here. So this is the thing I'm most interested in looking at this time. And there's another T-square forming here that I think is also extremely important. Because again, the title of this video is Trump's Money Laundering Revelations. And we have known for a long time, really, that there's something illegal going on with his finances. And it's really not. There's no reason why it should be a secret. It's not a secret. I mean, people from New York have been saying this for ages. He conducts himself in a criminal manner, and they've known it for decades. So why is this information not out in the public eye? Why is, it just makes no sense. Well, when I was watching Rachel Maddow, she had done some research on the whole issue with Deutsche Bank and Russian money laundering and this connection to Donald Trump. These things are tied together. I have absolutely no doubt about it. The issue is, when is it going to be fully public knowledge such that it actually has consequences? And I do think that this is going to come more and more into the public eye this year, and it will have an impact on the elections. So, all right, let's look at what's happening here. So Neptune is the planet that unfortunately has the shadow side of deception. It has a tendency to hide or obscure information, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally. And in this case, it's intentional. It is forming a T-square with his natal full moon eclipse. He was born on a full moon eclipse. You can see the sun is conjunct the north node, the moon is conjunct the south node. And so Neptune has been in this position for quite a long time, first squaring Uranus exactly, and now it's moving into a square to the north node and the south node, and then the moon and the sun in his natal chart. And this is all about the deception that's been going on. And what we want to know is, when will the revelations come? Well, what's happening here is that the nodes by this time have shifted into the Gemini Sagittarius axis, and it's moving toward a north node return for him. And this is actually one of my biggest concerns related to the election, because north node, first of all, it's very karmic, but secondly, it's generally considered favorable. So that's my biggest concern, one of my biggest concerns about him possibly having a chance at winning the election. If it weren't for that, I would probably discount his chances completely. But I can't, unfortunately, I cannot overlook the fact that North Node returns are generally favorable. But they are karmic. So one way or another, and this is something I've believed for a long time, and I keep saying in my videos, what is unfolding now is karmic. It is fated. It is something that the universe has, in a sense, conspired for us to come around to our karma again, which, as I've been saying over and over again in my videos, has to do with the karma of the way of the racism in this country, the way this country was built on the back of both the Native Americans and the African slaves that were brought over here. And, people were tortured, they were massacred, they were forced into slavery. And that is the karma of this nation, whether we like it or not. We were born in this country. We benefit from being U.S. citizens, but we have a national karma. We have an ancestral karma. And whether we like it or not, even though our choices may not be based in racism and discrimination, we have to balance this karmic debt. We don't have a choice, okay? And it's coming around again for us to face up to. And it's extremely unpleasant for a lot of people. It's painful for people who care, and it's painful for those who have suffered. And there are people who continue to perpetuate racism and discrimination in this country. And, while we may not understand why it has to be this way, you just have to trust that karmic patterns are long-term, extremely long-term. They go beyond a human lifetime, okay? So we are dealing with national and ancestral karma. And it's not an option, okay? It's something we have to face, and it's a pain that we have to learn to alchemize and heal. And it's what we're dealing with in our country right now. And it comes around over and over and over again to the same position in that spiral of consciousness expansion. And every time we hit that point again, we have to deal with this national and ancestral karma and try to bring healing again. So let's look at the square here. The Neptune opposition to the sun and the vertex against the vertex is karmic. It's very karmic. It's all about something fated, okay? So the Neptune opposition to the sun at the time of Mars retrograde has to do with deception. It's squaring the nodes. So again, this is extremely karmic. And as much as we would like to see this, the unfortunate aspects of the deception, as much as we would like to see them revealed and dealt with immediately, we know it's not going to happen immediately. How do we know that? Because we've been dealing with this for a long time. You know, karma unfolds very slowly. There's a reason why there's this thing called instant karma. It's because it's unusual. And so when it happens, you notice it. Most karma unfolds very slowly. But we are seeing times when it gets triggered. And this time with Mars retrograde is a time when karma will get triggered. And the issues around the deception that's been going on for a long time are starting to come to bear in a karmic way. How do I know that? Because of this T-square. You know, it's a grand cross. We can see here, Neptune opposite the sun, conjunct the vertex. That opposition is forming a grand cross with the nodes. This is not going to be fun for people who have been dishonest. I can promise you that. If you know anything about astrology and your own personal astrological experiences and life experiences, when you have this kind of grand cross with the nodes, karma comes back and you have to pay the price for your deception. And look at, it's forming a square, a T-square here to Neptune, and that square is getting tighter and tighter and tighter, like a noose. So it does get activated with Mars retrograde. How do I know that? Because of the T-square it is forming to this opposition and finger of God configuration. And so on one side, we see the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. Although it's not exact, it's still in effect, okay? And if you recall, think back to the time when the Mueller report was revealed and Mueller spoke. At that time, Saturn and Pluto were retrograde. As soon as Saturn and Pluto went direct, boom, we got the information from the whistleblower. And that is what led to the impeachment. So you have to understand, you have to be patient, and you have to trust, because karma is going to come to bear. And every time that Trump continues to lie and deceive and conduct criminal behavior and try to cover up his former criminal behavior, and the more insane he gets, the more that karma piles up and piles up and piles up, to the point where it will come crashing down on his head. And we're beginning to see something with this Mars retrograde. So you can see here, it retrogrades at 28 degrees of Aries, 9 minutes, in his 9th house. The 9th house rules politics and law and courts. All legal cases are in the 9th house, okay? It also rules politics. Now, you may have heard other astrologers talk about Capricorn rules the government. I've mentioned that too. Capricorn is the government. It's the established institutions that create laws and enforce laws, whereas the 9th house is politics. There's actually a difference, okay? It's not the same thing. It rules politics and the law and legal cases, whereas Capricorn are the governmental institutions, because they've been locked down into the physical earth form, okay? That's different than the 9th house, which is about the formation of our laws and the expounding of our beliefs, okay? Because the ninth house rules beliefs, and it rules how we codify law, which is different than the earthy institutions that enforce those laws. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, the ninth house is politics and law and legal cases and courts. So with Mars retrograding in his ninth house, that will reveal information that has not been revealed before. And it's forming a T-square to these planets here. So Saturn and Pluto is all about what is unfolding now. It's been taking a hell of a long time, and I know you guys are sick of it. We still have to make it all the way to Inauguration Day, okay? And as I've said, something absolutely extraordinary is coming on Inauguration Day, and I'll continue to talk more about that. But I want you to see what's happening here with the Saturn-Pluto conjunction over his vertex, which is fate. So Saturn-Pluto is about the restructuring of power and authority, which is still happening, okay? It's incredibly slow. It's driving a lot of you crazy, I know, because you keep telling me that, both in your comments and personally when I'm doing astrology readings for you. How painful this experience has been, and why won't it end? It will end. We just have to make it. We have to make it until Inauguration Day, and then that's when really it gets explosive. And I'm going to talk more about, because it's a violent configuration, I need to help you to understand how that violence will manifest. It won't manifest in the way that the past American Civil War did. It will be very, very different. Not, in my opinion, it's not something you need to fear, because it will be so different from the original American Civil War that it's so different. It takes a whole nother video to explain that. So you're just going to have to hold off until I get that done. But for now, we're looking at how Saturn and Pluto is still in conjunction over his vertex, which is fate. And so we're still watching the restructuring of power and authority in our government. Now, let me help you to understand why this is so important and why it's karmic and why it takes so long. It's because, as I've said before, we have had people in the government who have committed crimes in the past, and someone said, oh, it's never been like Trump. But I mean, I hate to say this, but the whole thing with Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld was a massive falsifying of the facts for personal political desire and gain. There were no there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. There was never, ever any proof before, during, or after we invaded Iraq. They simply wanted to go in there and control that region. And that's simply what it comes down to. And a lot of it did have to do with personal gain. The Bush family were a political family, and they had their money came from oil, and they wanted to control the oil reserves. They wanted the United States to be in control of the oil reserves in that region. And they felt that they needed to use this opportunity while they were in this position in government to get control of that region, to get military control of that region for the United States. And a lot of people are fine with that. But that doesn't mean it's right. And then Cheney had a construction company that got massive, probably multi-million, maybe, I'm sure even billions of dollars, I don't know the exact numbers, in government contracts for construction and rebuilding in Iraq. So they definitely gained from that on a very personal level. And that kind of stuff does happen in our government. And this is all about revealing that. The reason it's being revealed now with Trump is because Trump is incredibly unsophisticated at manipulating the American mind. Now, yes, he is controlling about 40% of the American population through the propaganda tool of Fox News and through his lying. But there's another 60%, probably really it's more like 70, because I think there's about a 10% of the population that support Trump, even though they know he's not on the up and up, even though they know he lies, but they may still vote for him. But at least 60% know that he's lying, he's corrupt, he's a criminal, he's doing these things for his own personal gain. And they know that because he doesn't have the sophistication of the past politicians and people in government who are able to manipulate the American mind and make them believe that it was patriotic to support invading Iraq and other sorts of things that go way back in our history. So anyway, what's happening now is about restructuring power and authority in our government such that we can become more honest and more, there will be more transparency and ultimately more freedom and more democracy for the people. And so Trump, in his very bizarre and corrupt way, is actually helping us and leading us to that. It's very painful while we're in the process of giving birth to these new structure of power and authority in our government. It's forming a finger of God aspect, which is very karmic, and I've talked about that many, many times in these videos. You can see there's a quincunx up to his Uranus North Node and Sun. That's very karmic. It's all about you reap what you sow. So if you reap seeds of negative karma, you will sow negative karma. Same down here with his Mars ascendant conjunction, which makes him very rash and impulsive and conflict oriented. And then of course the opposition to Saturn and Venus, which I think has a lot to do with his finances, his relationship with women, his finances, and all the things that he hides in the 12th house. It's going to be revealed. And I think that the Mars retrograde is part of activating that, because of the fact that we see the opposition forming. Again, we've got Saturn retrograde. So Saturn will cross over these degrees again of 25 degrees, 44 minutes with the Venus, and possibly as far back as 23 degrees, 49 minutes as well. I'll have to look at that for future videos, but the Saturn opposition definitely makes a difference. And same with Pluto. Pluto is definitely hovering in opposition to these two positions. And when they go direct, we will again see something happen, just like when we saw the effect of Pluto and Saturn direct when the whistleblower's complaint came out that then led to the impeachment. So it's not over yet, folks. And again, I know that the Mars opposition, the Mars retrograde is activating this because of the T-square of Neptune opposite the Sun, conjunct vertex, forming this T-square to the North nodes, which are coming into very important position over his natal full moon eclipse. So karma will come to bear. It absolutely will. And then again, the T-square that Mars is forming to the planets in his 12th house of things hidden, and the Saturn-Pluto conjunction over his vertex in his 6th house of work. So that T-square is going to get tighter and tighter. Both of those T-squares are going to get tighter and tighter. As Mars moves retrograde, it will square these degrees of 25 degrees 38 minutes and 25 degrees 44 minutes, 23 degrees 49 minutes, and 22 degrees 54 minutes and 38 minutes. So all of these degrees will get activated by that Mars retrograde. And it will actually activate 3 times. The first time is when it was direct, the second time is when it's retrograde, and then a third time when it's direct again. So this is extremely important because all of this stuff is happening at the same time. All right, so again, I know that this stuff can be really complicated, but I will continue to bring you more and more videos to help you to see the big picture of what's unfolding astrologically and karmically. And as I said, this is leading all the way up to Inauguration Day, because some kind of karma is going to get activated on an Inauguration Day, which is like the big one, like a really big one. Okay. You ain't seen nothing yet. But again, I don't want you to get, into a panic about any violence that might emerge from it, because it will be small scale and it will be contained. So you won't have to worry about, your own personal life, unless, violence erupts in your city, like in Charlottesville. That was kind of dangerous, but it will still be very small scale. So I don't want you to, to get really, really scared about that, because it's not going to be like the American Civil War. Absolutely nothing like it. I can assure you that. It's going to happen in a very, very different way this time. All right, so I'm going to bring this to an end now. And as always, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. Click like on this video, share with friends and family and on social media, and leave your comments. And again, if you want a personal reading, just click on the link in the description box below, or my Financial Freedom Program, which is on special now because it includes both the 12-week course on financial freedom and a 1-hour reading, both at a discount. And finally, if you would like to become a patron at the $10 tier, you can get a free ebook. So just email me at admin@yvonnedavis.com for all your questions regarding these offerings. And I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.